The OHL preseason is officially in the books. And what can we take away from the preseason? Not a whole lot. But there's a few things to take note of before the regular season gets underway on Thursday. And of course, the Barrie Colts home opener will be Thursday night at 7 p.m. against the North Bay Battalion. Those two teams met in the second round of the OHL postseason last year, so that rivalry renews. And then the Peterborough Petes, they're raising their championship banner against the Kingston Frontenacs on Thursday. So exciting stuff down at the Liftlock City. But what I wanted to do in this video is take a look at some of the notes from the preseason and what kind of takeaways we can have before the regular season gets underway, and some things that just stand out and that are fascinating. And starting off with the team with the best winning percentage, no, it's not London, it's not Saginaw, it was the Sarnia Sting, a team that lost a lot of players that graduated at the end of last season. They did make a move or two, including a trade with the Niagara Ice Dogs, bringing in the LeBlanc tip wins. But yeah, the Sarnia Sting, they had an 800 points percentage in the preseason, which is quite remarkable. Head coach Alan Letang, he was quoted in the OHL 20 and 20 saying that the Sarnia culture, it's changing. They want to have a winning pedigree. Last year was their best run in their franchise's history, going all the way to the Western Conference Finals, something that they've never done before, and they want to keep that buzz in the city, no pun intended, with the Sarnia Sting. So who stood out for Sarnia in that run? Well, it's former Niagara Ice Dog Andrew LeBlanc. He led the way, 7 goals, 1 assist, which was third in OHL points in the preseason. Not someone you would expect to lead the team in scoring. Maybe Marko Sikic, he was number 3. He had 2 goals, 4 assists, good for 6 points in the preseason. And Zach Filak also stood out. He had 7 points in 5 games. So the Sarnia Sting looking pretty good in the preseason. Hopefully they can continue some of that momentum going into the regular season. I know there's some who are picking Sarnia to maybe finish outside of the playoff picture in the Western Conference. I'm going to be doing a prediction piece video later in the week before the regular season starts, but judging by the way the Sarnia Sting played in the preseason, maybe they will be a playoff team. They could pull a surprise or two. They do have a young core. It's going to be a team that's going to be developing and gaining a lot of experience. Expect to see a few more moves between now and the OHL trade deadline, but if you're a Sarnia Sting fan, you got to be a little excited about what your team is doing in that preseason. Now, one big surprise is the Saginaw Spirit. They had a 0 points percentage. They went 0-4 in the preseason, but this is a team that's hosting the Memorial Cup next year, or this year rather. It's not next year, it's this year. So the Saginaw Spirit, a lot of high expectations. They had a lot of players off their NHL camps, and they were checking out the different lines. So, even though Saginaw may not have won a game in the OHL's preseason, one thing that really stood out to me when I was going through the rosters, Michael Misa. I think he is going to have a breakout year with Saginaw. He only appeared in 2 preseason games, but he recorded 2 goals, 4 assists in just 2 games. He is something else, and he'll be fun to follow this year. I wouldn't be surprised if he's one of the league leaders in scoring this year with the Saginaw Spirit. So Michael Misa, someone to watch for. Now from the Barrie Colts, one player who really stood out for me, Cole Beaudoin. He's entering his 2nd season in the Ontario Hockey League. His first year didn't go as planned for him. He was selected 10th overall in the OHL priority selection, and it just seemed like it took him a bit to get accustomed to the game. He's a big body, and as the season progressed, he was starting to get a little more confident getting the puck in front of the net. And now, after playing in the Ivan Holinka Gretzky tournament with Team Canada and getting points there, it's translated into points in the preseason. He had 4 goals, 4 assists, good for 8 points in his 5 games in the preseason. He also had a 3-game goal scoring streak in the preseason. So very Colt fans can be pretty excited about Cole Beaudoin to see what he does next. And, he's a big body. I think he's going to be a difference maker. Expect him to have a bit of a breakout year with the Barrie Colts. And it's going to be a competitive Central Division. I know a lot of people picking the Sudbury Wolves to maybe run away with the Central, but I don't think it's going to be that easy. I think the Barrie Colts, with having Edward Chalet in the lineup, of course, he's at the NHL camp right now at the Seattle Kraken. And then you got Bo Akey, who's had a pretty good preseason as well with the Edmonton Oilers, just waiting for those 2 players to come back. And then the Barrie Colts, they could be an interesting team to follow this year, leading up to the postseason, and we'll have to wait and see what they do. Also, leading up to the OHL trade deadline, which isn't until January. The first things first, the Barrie Colts, they need to figure out their overager situation. They have 6 OAs on their roster still, and that includes both Ben West and Anson Thornton, the goaltenders. Thornton actually, my understanding is, broke his finger at the Arizona Coyotes training camp, so it might be a few weeks before we see him back on the ice, and then a decision about whether or not he comes to Barrie, and I'm sure Colt fans would love to see Anson Thornton back in the lineup. Another couple of notes, the Kitchener Rangers, they had 2 players leading the way in scoring in the preseason, Carson Rakoff and Matthew Sopp. Rakoff, he had 11 points in the preseason, and then Sopp 10, so those were your 1 and 2. It's interesting to see that the Kitchener Rangers having 2 players at the top. Another team kind of similar to the Sarnia Sting. People are expecting them to maybe go into a bit of a rebuild, a reset. They've got a younger lineup, but there are question marks with the Kitchener Rangers. Philippe Machar, he is one of those question marks. He's the Montreal Canadiens prospect. Does he go pro? Does he play in Laval with the Rocket? Or does he come back to the Ontario Hockey League? And you have to imagine that if Machar comes back to the Ontario Hockey League, he might be a good trade chip. However, he is an import, so those trades can be a little bit more challenging than, say, a trade involving Rakoff. But if the Rangers get off to a hot start, who knows? They did have that big upset against the Windsor Spitfires in the playoffs last year, so anything is possible. And the Kitchener Rangers wanting to rock the odd, probably one of the best places to take in an OHL game. So it's always good when you see the Kitchener Rangers be competitive, but that's going to be a very tough Midwest division. I did an interview with Sean Bednard the other day from the Erie Otters. He's the play-by-play voice, and we were talking about that Midwest, and it's going to be something else. You got the London Knights, the Owen Sound Attack, and the Guelph Storm, who are expected to be powerhouses in the Western Conference. So if the Erie Otters and Kitchener Rangers can make things a little difficult over there, it's going to be all the more exciting. And I also just wanted to end on a note about the top rookie from the preseason, Brady Martin from the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds. He was selected 3rd overall in the draft this past spring. He's an Elmira native, and he had a solid preseason, 4 goals, 3 assists, good for 7 points. I think Martin, he's going to be a player to watch this season. We've got Schaefer from the Erie Otters, who might be the top rookie by the end of the season, but don't count out a player like Brady Martin in the Sioux. The Greyhounds, they also picked up Jack Beck from the Ottawa 67s in a trade last week as an overager. So the Sioux Greyhounds, they're also going to be an interesting team to follow. They were kind of they were in the top half of the points percentage in the OHL preseason. So the Greyhounds, a lot of fun to watch up there in the north, see what they can do, as they're going to be in quite the battle, I think, with the Saginaw Spirit in the West Division. So what do you think about the preseason? There's so many storylines coming out of it, from the Sarnia Sting, the Saginaw Spirit, Cole Bodwin. What's he going to be like this year for the Barrie Colts? So let me know your thoughts and opinions down below in the comments section. What are your predictions going into the year, and who impressed you quite a bit in the OHL preseason? So as I mentioned, the regular season gets underway on Thursday. I'll be at the rink at the Saddleland Arena for that one, calling the game on Rogers TV. I cannot wait for the regular season to get underway, and it's against a rival with the North Bay Battalion, so all the better. So thanks again for tuning in. Remember to hit like and subscribe as we take this journey along the 2023-24 OHL regular season. It is just around the corner, just days away. And I can't wait, and I'm sure you're excited as well, and we will talk to you again soon.